Okay, we are live, and this is another episode of Deep Dive where we are just having a good time talking about, some fantasy picks of who I would personally like to see make a comeback, possibly come back in a managerial role, get into the Hall of Fame this year. I just wanted to make a fun episode where we just kind of talk about just people that women specifically, that we miss seeing in any company and make a comeback. So let's get into it. I'm excited about this. Let's go.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.
Hello, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Deep Dive. This week, I just wanted to kind of take in the summer fun of thinking about what is ahead of us as we get into a really fun part of the year. We're kind of winding down the year, and usually in wrestling, we see at this time a lot of big time pay-per-views, and we're kind of buckling up for premieres of new seasons of weekly wrestling shows that we love. So when that comes around, we usually know that there are going to be some exciting debuts, people possibly coming back, or a new setup and era sometimes with different shows that really set the tone for what we're expecting going into a new year. So that just made me think, as I was trying to come up with what I was going to talk about this episode of Deep Dive, who I would really like to see on the women's side of the roster, who I would love to see make a comeback, or in many cases, sometimes when I was thinking about it, people that sometimes we just think about that I would like to see kind of really get that respect for what they brought to the industry. And because we're seeing a time where that is being embraced more for female talent that really did do some awesome things at that time, but it wasn't fully embraced or really recognized at that time. So this list that I, kind of came up with was really a mixture of both people that have already, women that have already gotten that that type of recognition and seal that they were, some of the greats of their time, but they're just making a comeback, or ones that I felt now we're kind of hearing the rumblings or appreciation for what they accomplished, but they just possibly may have been in the wrong era. And of course, they would not be coming back to have any in-ring action, but at least just making sure that they're coming back to get that type of recognition that they deserve. And let me start off with the fact that this list that I came up with, that I curated, it may never happen. Like, probably most of the things that I came up with, we may never see these women actually return. But that's why I just kind of see it as a fantasy list, something that, or some situations that I would absolutely love to see, but it might be a fool's dream. But you know what? This is Deep Dive. We can have these conversations where we can have these fantasy booking lists that just seem fun to come up with, and possibly maybe one or two things can surprise you throughout the year that you actually might see that can come from you thinking about booking that's only in your wildest dreams. So I've compiled a short list because I could have gone on and on about this, but you know what? I just want to compile a short list of women that I would like to see have comebacks, that I would like to see possibly go into the Hall of Fame when we get into this upcoming year, or women that I just want to see be involved in storylines to add to what is already working for those women in the industry and kind of just put an extra bit of spice on it, So let's just dive into this because, this is Deep Dive. Let's dive into the first woman that came into my mind because it has been teased a lot. So I hope that it's not just going to stay in that phase, that we can actually see something come out of it. And that is Toni Storm mentioning Wendy Richter. And I would personally love to see this happen. Um, just like I would say, as I'm mentioning this, a lot of women I'm not seeing, especially because of the time that they were in the industry, being older, not necessarily seeing them actually have some in-ring competition, but literally just coming in to really get that recognition that they deserve. And we have seen since I believe December of 2023, Tony Storm having these amazing interviews during the media scrums that AEW has had, and just bringing up Wendy Richter's name and saying that she wants to challenge her. And initially, it was coming off as something that was just a funny joke, especially considering Tony Storm's character, where everything is about more of the retro look, the retro style. So it would make sense that she would be bringing up a legendary women's champion like Wendy Richter. But as the time went by, and Tony kept bringing it up, it really started making me appreciative of the fact that Tony was bringing up Wendy Richter, because many times she's not. And it's always baffling to me when you see these tributes or times when WWE wants to recognize certain women from the past, but you don't really hear Wendy Richter's name brought up. With the type of numbers that she was bringing in, how she really did contribute to the rock and wrestling era in WWE, the time that really made it go mainstream along with Hulk Hogan, you would think that there would be more. And yes, Wendy is a part of the WWE Hall of Fame. She definitely did have that moment. But I think that there should have been more of a way to capitalize on the fact that they were really bringing attention to the role that Wendy really made during that time when WWE was trying to really format it as an entertainment company, and to have these younger wrestlers that really identified with a lot of young teenagers that loved MTV, and them actually using that market. Wendy really helped to add some credibility to really trying for WWE, really trying to get that fan base in the 80s at that time, and really set themselves apart from a lot of the different wrestling organizations. And I feel like that type of contribution has not really been recognized by WWE. They put her in the Hall of Fame, but it just seemed like, especially at that time, in the mid to the late 2000s, it just seemed like it was more of a thing to say that they did it, but not really embracing possibly bringing her back to interact with the younger women in the industry at that time. And I do get it. At that time, WWE really was not pushing to have women be seen a certain way in the company. Hence the reason why I think that not only Wendy should have that interaction with Tony Storm, possibly coming in and obviously, just like I said, not having in-ring action, but possibly interfering in a match that Tony would have, or probably just trying to find ways to get under Tony's skin that would just be comedic gold, and having Wendy kind of come in that way. But then also putting some respect on the fact that not only did Wendy have a great career in WWE, but she also had that type of career in the territory era as well, and kind of showing that type of pedigree that Wendy had. I think that Tony would do a great job of really trying to push that too, especially considering the fact that Tony has brought up her name. She wants that attention on Wendy too. So I think that that would be great. But you can even have, because Wendy is not signed to any of these promotions, she can really start getting that spotlight and kind of add some credibility to the prestige of having a WWE Women's title. Because we're seeing, especially with their, and this has been a conversation that's been coming up that I honestly have felt for a while. I think, especially with the women in WWE, the action, the in-ring work is absolutely amazing. But I think that they really want some great storylines. And you see with titles like the Intercontinental title, obviously the men's heavyweight title, there usually happens to be a lot of backstory into why, and understanding on why that title is so prominent. But you really need to have with the women's titles, where you're really pushing for that history and that understanding that even if, because we know with the women's titles, there have been many hiccups and times we haven't seen that title, but let's focus on the times when you had amazing women like Wendy actually holding that title and bring more prestige and history to that title so that it can add many times to the story. And I think that Wendy even coming in and possibly having where you're having this big time match with two amazing women's wrestlers, really bringing in that she wants to see and she appreciates seeing that high level of wrestling that you see right now with the women in WWE. But even her presence, being there, wanting to see the match in person and interacting with the women behind the scenes and making it clear she wants to have or she wants to see that type of prestige continue to stay with that title. I think that would be cool. I even would like, whether it be AEW with possibly Tony Storm and Wendy doing this, where they could kind of play on what happened to Wendy with with her possibly coming in with the Spider-Woman costume and kind of doing a screw job on Tony Storm. I think it would be cool that instead of letting that be such a dark thing that happened in Wendy's career, kind of playing at that and using it to have a great storyline. There's so much that Wendy can do that doesn't have to just be in AEW because of the background, the history, the accomplishments that Wendy has had. The sky's the limit, honestly, with what they can do with Wendy. There is a wealth of talent, of experience, of things and angles that you can do with her that doesn't require her to actually have to do anything in the ring physically. So I hope that with Tony bringing that up in the past, that they might actually surprise us and have Wendy be involved in some way. Once again, wishful thinking, I'm hoping that it can actually happen. Let's move on to the next comeback that I would like to see, and hoping this will happen. One that I've been kind of hoping in my mind might happen, but who knows, and that's seeing the Jumping Bomb Angels possibly have a return in WWE. Once again, because of the women that a lot of women that I'm bringing up, I'm not saying for them to, or even alluding to the fact that they would have an in-ring return. But one conversation or a few conversations I've been seeing that have been popping up over the past month is this lackluster. Actually, I have to correct myself. This conversation has been going for probably about a year. The issue of really putting some prominence and attention towards the women's WWE tag team titles. And I think that having the Jumping Bomb Angels, who, by the way, over the past few months have really been making the rounds at conventions and really telling these awesome stories about their experience in wrestling. They have been showing off the WWE tag team titles that they still hold. They are still in possession of them. I think that it would be awesome if they really came and showed off those titles. Because once again, one of the biggest things that you can do to bring some attention and awareness or make people feel that a title is important is showing off that history and showing amazing talent that had the title prior to that. And even though it's not the same title, the same belts, I think that with the type of experience, the respect that the Jumping Bomb Angels have, and a lot of newer wrestling, female wrestling fans bringing up that when they see or get the chance to look at what the Jumping Bomb Angels did, whether it be at their time in WWE or in All Japan Women's Wrestling, there is a huge fan base that really gravitates towards them. Even now, when you look at the work that they did, they really countered or brought like a counterculture of high flying wrestling and that type of excitement that we still really like in wrestling now. So to kind of have them come back and they're kind of embracing, let's say, a tag team that's really worked on properly, and you creating a great story for them and really getting the fans behind them. And then you have the Jumping Bomb Angels kind of endorsing them and really rooting for them to win the title. in my opinion, this would have been great when the Kabuki Warriors were champions, bringing the Jumping Bomb Angels, because you would have that connection with all of them having that experience of being Joshi wrestlers and that type of respect that they have for titles and for that honor to be able to hold a title. That would have been a really great story that I feel would have locked in fans to really be invested in someone becoming the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions and then giving them a really good run. I think that having women that have really paved the way coming in and giving that seal of approval that someone should be champion really adds to it. And I think that the Jumping Bomb Angels would be great for that, especially as you can see, as they've really been making the rounds, going to conventions, having interviews, really putting themselves out there on social media, talking about their experiences in WWE, that it would be cool to bring them back to really add to what we as fans want, which is to have this amazing talent that you have in WWE with the women, really develop a strong women's tag team division. Because obviously, even if you have the titles, if you don't have great dancing partners that can have really great storylines and feuds with you, it doesn't really mean anything if you're holding the title. So adding really good stories, background, prestige to the titles by showing off that history that existed, even if it was a short history, it still helps to add depth to why people would care about the women's tag team division. So do I see this happening? I have no idea if WWE would even consider it, but I think it would be cool to have the Jumping Bomb Angels come back and really add their 2 cents on what can make the women's tag team division great. We'll see if that happens. But once again, wishful thinking. Let's move on to the next choice. We have girl Jazz. I have to bring up Jazz. Why? Because we're going into, as these next few months go on, all of us as fans collectively trying to figure out who's going to be put in this 2025 Hall of Fame for WWE. And I know for sure, because I will start throwing some chairs, if we go through another Hall of Fame induction and we don't see Jazz in there, okay, mark my words, we're going to have some problems, WWE, because I don't understand. I mean, I do understand why. And we've even had Jazz confirm why more than likely she was not put in the Hall of Fame prior to now. But I think with a great sign that we saw this last WrestleMania, where we saw Jazz outside. Okay, she was all up in WrestleMania 40. She was heavily involved in fan access. She was able to interact with those fans that really loved and appreciated what she did during her time in WWE. Not as one, but a 2-time WWE Women's Champion. And as much as I love hearing interviews and seeing comebacks from women like Lita and Trish, my girl at the time, I did love me some Lita, but I loved Jazz, and I need to see her get that type of recognition on WWE's platform. I need to see her go into the Hall of Fame and have that night where she can bask in that type of attention, because she definitely deserves it. I feel that they really need to be picking her brain about what she really knows when it comes to developing younger talent, because currently, and it is being shown on the reality show that Billy Corrigan, owner of NWA, has displayed during the reality show that they currently have on the CW app, if you want to check it out, where they show Jazz really honing in on what you need to do as an agent. And she has been an amazing agent for NWA, specifically for the women's division. I know a lot of people might want to debate this, but this is truly my opinion. Over the past year that I've been watching NWA, and I've really been honing in on how great the women's division has been, all of that, not saying literally there aren't other moving parts or people that are participating in that, but you can see whether you're seeing those wrestling styles that are on display, the women that are coming into NWA, the really great promos that you're seeing, you can see Jazz's hand in that. And it would be, in my opinion, absolutely insane for WWE to not utilize the type of tools that Jazz has. And also putting the fact that she's developing young talent too with her own wrestling school that she has with her husband, Rodney Mack, in Texas. And right now we're seeing, and we've been seeing this over the past few years, the boom in wrestling again that you see in Texas. And you're seeing it from amazingly talented trainers like Jazz. So on every level, as talent, as someone that should have gotten a whole bunch of merchandise when she was in WWE, but it can go on now if they let her sign that Wrestling Legends contract. She deserves to have that merchandise. She deserves to have that time to bask in reflecting on her career with being put in the Hall of Fame. And she deserves to be called on when it comes to getting that firsthand knowledge that a lot of women that were inspired by Jazz and men would love to have that are currently in WWE. So for all those reasons, I definitely think that Jazz should be in that Hall of Fame selection going to 2025. And I already think with her being asked to come and invited to come to the WWE Hall of Fame this year, with her being invited to come to Fan Access and have that time with wrestling fans, with her being seen in many pictures, interacting and having reunions with a lot of people that she did wrestle, including Trish, and having Medusa back to where they were interacting and having a good time with a lot of women that were coming to watch WrestleMania that she had some amazing moments with, but then also seeing her interact with a lot of women from this generation that were just so excited to see her backstage. We're seeing the change in guard, and we've been seeing that over the past year. I think that with that olive branch that WWE extended to her, with her being a part in a certain capacity with one of the biggest weeks in wrestling for WWE WrestleMania, I do think it is a teaser to get us excited about the possible announcement that she would be inducted. So I am hoping that that is the case. I would totally flip out if that is. But just like I said, I would also like to see a follow-up with that, with her getting that type of Legends contract that she deserves, her finally getting merchandise, which she did not get at all when she was champion in WWE at the time. She deserves all those things. She deserves to see that she made such an impact in wrestling. So I'm hoping to see that. I love, the feedback, okay, on who we want to see make a comeback. And we have from All Star Fandom. Thank you for watching, by the way. I used to love Jazz. She deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And I could not agree more. So, guys, let's just all put our prayers out there that we will see her name, okay, in these announcements coming up soon at the start of 2025, that she will actually be inducted, that she will get that recognition that she deserves. We just have to wait and see. But I know that we're all hoping for that. And I had the honor of meeting Jazz at a recent NWA event. And I can definitely tell that this is something that she wants to. And I think that WWE is ready to make that step with this new changing guard. I definitely think that they want to do that. So at Women's Wrestling Talk, we're going to keep pushing forward. We're going to keep talking about it until we see that Ms. Jazz gets that recognition. All right, so let's move on to the next choice. I want to see, and I was so happy to see recently that Trinity, it's funny enough, the original Trinity that was in TNA back in 2002 all the way up to, I believe, 2005. Yeah, I think it was about 2005 when she moved on to WWE. I would love to see her make a comeback in TNA. I would think it would be hilarious or just like a coincidence that she would come back as TNA has moved back into and fully leaned into what made them popular over the past year. We saw that change from leaving the name Impact and then fully going back into TNA. So why not bring a TNA original to come back? I love that recently I've been seeing interviews from Trinity where people have been telling her, because I don't know if she was able to hear that before, even though she had not the longest stint in TNA, but the type of impact that she did leave in TNA, how it was very needed, as you had a lot of women like Trinity that wanted to do so much in the company, but they didn't really get that ability. So when you saw those little sparks of moments where they were getting the chance to really show off their athleticism, that it actually became such memorable moments that every time you see them, you immediately think about them. When we see Trinity, we think about the time when she was able to jump off the cage and have that moment where every wrestling fan that was in attendance was simply thinking about how cool that was. And she didn't have to do certain things that we were seeing a lot of women at that time just be relegated to. How even when she was managing in TNA, they always gave her those moments where she could have those spots to pull off a really cool move off the top rope. How she had at the time, and I wish it would have continued, a really great feud that I and really started to lay the track works for what could have been if she would have stayed, and how that formulated into TNA really starting to see that they needed to create a full-fledged women's division, and they certainly did. They still have one of the most impressive women's division, and Trinity was a part of that early stage when there really wasn't much talk about having a women's division. And it wasn't fully entertained, but she was able to have some really great matches to help to stoke the fire. So I would love to see her make a comeback. But in my booking of Trinity coming back, as we see WWE and TNA working together, I would love to see Trinity versus Trinity. Because once again, if Naomi came back, she would have to be Trinity again for this special match that these women would have, and really play off the fact that they both use the name Trinity in TNA. I would love to see it. Already, the OG Trinity says she's perfectly fine with, and she would absolutely love to have some interaction with Naomi, aka Trinity, and TNA, and actually seeing them two have an amazing match, especially considering the styles that both of them have are so similar in wrestling, that I would love to see the two of them face off and kind of just play on the fact that whoever wins is really known as the true and only Trinity in TNA. I would just love to see that. It would just be such a cool match, and them just having picking fun at the names, but then also showing like the type of chemistry that they can have in the ring, and Trinity still being able to recognize that she was a part of TNA, and that even though she's in WWE, she can still slide back, and have some 5-star matches in there. But that's, of course, a dream. But who knows? With TNA doing so much with WWE now, you never know what type of fun matches we might get. But let's move on. I really would like to see, this isn't necessarily like one person coming back in this choice, but having that new generation era in the early 90s be recognized for the women that participated in that time. And I wanted to start with Bull Nakano because we have seen that recognition come from Alundra Blaze coming back, being put into the Hall of Fame, her being involved in the Evolution pay-per-view, her coming back sometimes for like the Raw reunions and things like that, even Alundra coming back to put Bull Nakano in the Hall of Fame this year. We have seen Alundra Blaze get that attention, as she should have, because she was the head of the division during the new generation era in WWE. But because Bull Nakano was finally honored in WWE with the Hall of Fame induction, I would like to see that continue with her, just like I said, bringing that type of prestige again to the women's world titles by making her presence known, possibly coming in. And I have seen Bull Nakano do this in other promotions recently, or the past few years, kind of coming in and being like some type of authority over certain high stakes matches. I would love to see that at a WrestleMania where maybe Bull Nakano is in the corner of a certain champion. I would love to see Alundra Blaze and Bull Nakano kind of have this interaction, because we know that they are friends in real life. But kind of see this interaction that doesn't have to become physical, but them kind of playing off the fact of who was the better champ, and then that kind of creating like a little rift and healthy competition between the two of them. And then them kind of playing on that, especially because even though they are great friends in real life, they make such great adversaries in wrestling that it would be kind of cool to just kind of see them play into that again, just, one more time. I will also love to see Aja Kong get that recognition for the very short but outstanding time that she had in WWE and what a presence that she made. Aja Kong is still wrestling to this day, so she could actually have some in-ring action and really show what she can do in the ring and still hold up with these chicks that definitely at this time in wrestling took a lot from Aja and certainly were inspired by what she did. So that would just be awesome to see that. I think she can really help to set off a really good baby face to get that kind of traction that they need, because Aja is the ultimate heel. She really knows how to play on that. So I would love to see Aja kind of have some time in WWE, even if it's just coming for her to have that recognition, be inducted into the Hall of Fame, but also have some in-ring action with these women, because she has not skipped a beat. And recently, over this past year, she's really been making the rounds in the States. So why not make, an appearance in WWE? We've seen Joshi Wrestling really get that respect that it deserves in WWE recently. WWE just recently, I think last week, was in Japan, had some shows in Japan. So I think it would be cool for Joshi Wrestling, past and present, to be recognized in WWE more, with having these great interactions and returns from a lot of women that help to set the tone for what Joshi Wrestling is. And Bull Nakano and Aja Kong are certainly a part of that. So let's let that new generation era for the women get that attention that it deserves, because there were more players in it outside of Alundra Blaze. She definitely deserves to get that recognition, but we can bring the other women in that certainly were a part of that. Let's move on to someone that came back, but I felt like WWE kind of did her wrong, okay? That was Melina. Melina came back, and she was part of the 2023 Royal Rumble. She had such an amazing reception to her return. And many times when people were thinking about this Royal Rumble, and then I think like the year prior, they kept bringing up that they would like to say Melina, me being one of them. And we went crazy when we saw her on our screen making this amazing entrance. The fans were going crazy. She had her iconic split entrance that the crowd went wild for, because we know we had to have that or it wouldn't have been complete. They let her have the interaction with who? Sasha Banks. And we knew we were going to see these two women collide. And it was awesome. We were getting excited. We were like, yeah, let's let this last. Let's let them have, a few minutes. Let's really drag this out. We're thinking that's going to happen. They start colliding. They start going at it. The fans are going wild. And what happens? What happens, WWE? You make Melina have to leave the match. You throw Sasha Banks, throw her over the rope. And yes, Sasha Banks' reaction to getting Melina out of the ring was iconic. But could we have had that happen maybe 20 minutes into the match? Let Melina have some time, as we were really waiting for Melina to make a comeback. And then not only was she thrown out, but we didn't see Melina on WWE TV after that, especially when we know for sure even at this appearance, that Melina could still go. She could really have something after this. So I'm going to need WWE to rectify this, because I feel like with the type of matches that Melina was putting on at a time where it really wasn't getting the attention that it deserves, Melina definitely deserves to be able to make a comeback and have those matches that you're seeing. For instance, Trish, deservedly so, getting recognized for, or other women that were part of a really weird time in WWE where you had some women like Melina that could really go, but WWE wasn't really showcasing them in the way that they deserved. Melina is one of them, and I think that she could have some really great matches with this current crop of women in WWE, and she deserves it because she has really recently, over the past, I would say 2 years, has been talking about the things that she wanted to do in WWE, the things that she's grateful that she was able to accomplish. But you can see that there's still a fire there to show more of what she can do. So I'm hoping that she does get that chance in WWE, because the fans were really excited, amped up. The generation before, the generation that was watching during the Diva era, and this current generation all collectively would love to see Melina come back. So I'm hoping that WWE can rectify this. Maybe start off with the Royal Rumble this year and let her stay in for a bit. I would love to see Melina have some interaction with wrestlers like Naomi or Tiffany Stratton. Like, I want to see this. Okay, so WWE, you need to make it happen, because y'all did Melina wrong in the 2023 Royal Rumble. I'm not going to forgive that if y'all just let it stay like that. Now, if you rectify it, I'll let it slide, WWE, but you did her wrong. All right, before we go into my last choice on someone that I would love to see make a comeback, we have to pay these bills, y'all. We got to make sure we pay these bills. So we're going to have a quick commercial, and then we'll come right back.
Hey, yo, you. Yeah. Hey, yo, you. Yeah, you. That's watching this. You sitting on the couch staring at the screen not knowing what you want to do, like this is an online college. Are you tired of wearing shirts that make you look like an extra stuck in catering? Do you want to step your wrestling swag game up to the next level? Then Women's Wrestling Talk has got you covered. Like, literally. Are you for life in pink or black and white? Or maybe you're the EST and people need to respect you accordingly. Want to put some pride in your stride and show off the muscle in your hustle? Then make sure you check out the WWT store. Not now, but right now. Alright? What you waiting for? Head to wwtalkpodstore.com and don't make me fight you. Shit.
You know what? Even as I come back with seeing that image, WWE, I'm gonna need you to fix it, okay? Because I'm still a bit heated. All right, so we have gone over so far a few women and a few ideas that I would like to see happen in this amazing fantasy booking that I've created. Let's get into last but certainly not least, and a woman that I've been hearing for a while now. This hasn't just come up, but for a while that I've heard that people, including myself, are clamoring to see actually make a comeback. It could happen, guys. We have to see, but I'm still going to keep this in my mind. That's a fantasy that may not come true, but I'm still going to have high hopes for that. And that is AJ Lee. Okay, we've been talking about it more recently because CM Punk came back, and he keeps hinting, like Vicky little hints that's just, I know, driving all of us crazy. So I really hope that this can be a possibility. I think my reasons also are tied to the same thing that I would say about Melina and some others that were in that weird phase in WWE around the 2010s, where you were kind of seeing that there may be a change in the company as it pertains to its attitude towards women's wrestling, but they still were not in that phase yet, where they were still trying to hold back on what the women can do and how they should wrestle in the ring. You had someone like AJ that literally wanted to see, was dying to see the women's wrestling scene go to a completely different level and really stand toe to toe with the men's division. And sadly, I mean, she did start to see that right before she retired, but there was so much that happened after that I wish that AJ could have been a part of. Now we know, as of many interviews that AJ has had, and when she's opened up about having a lot of injuries during that time after, and really making sure that she was caring for her body and not putting it under anything that would cause serious problems later on in her life. But see, I'm appreciative of AJ just coming back in any capacity that she would want. Not even wrestling now. If she wanted to, that would be amazing, because there's so many women that I am sure would love to face AJ in WWE. I would love to see some interaction with a lot of women that you saw and have spoken openly that are in WWE that really have been inspired by AJ. Roxanne Perez being one of them in NXT, who more than likely will be called up. I'm thinking probably like after the Royal Rumble season, Bailey, who was able to have interaction with AJ and get a lot of feedback and advice during the time when Bailey was coming up at NXT. I know that she would love to have a feud with her. There's so many others. I mean, you could literally create a dream list of women that AJ could face off with if she was to come back. But we saw, even when AJ was in WWE, she was also a strong manager and really knew how to create a compelling character. So even if she didn't get in the ring, if she was to make a comeback, she would still have a strong presence. Having that interaction with CM Punk would be cool. They had great on-screen chemistry when she was in WWE before, so that would be pretty cool to see them kind of touch on that. We see with her work that she did in WoW behind the scenes that she could be a very strong producer if she just wanted to participate in things that were happening in WWE, but not necessarily be in front of the camera like that. She could really lend a lot of advice and a lot of creative talent when it comes to the storylines, not just for the women, but just anyone that is in need of having like a really strong character. So in many ways, AJ can really contribute to this new era in WWE in great ways. I love over the past few years how AJ has really been getting that recognition for what she was fighting for, how many times I am sure, especially after reading her autobiography, the uphill battle that she had trying to feel like in many ways she was single-handedly trying to change the women's division. And many times initially when the women's revolution, when they started pinning the change in WWE to being a women's revolution, AJ Lee's name was intentionally not included in that for a few years because of the way that CM Punk left. That is nice to see that that time is done and AJ is actually getting that respect that she deserves for what she was doing with that Divas title, and how she definitely helped to usher in a change with other women for the better. And that sometimes, yes, it seemed like she was the main one that was pushing for that for a few years, and making something great out of little things and little opportunities that she was getting was truly a testament to how much talent AJ had. So as all of us are doing, we're kind of on pins and needles to see if AJ will make a comeback. But something tells me in some way she actually will, because you see the type of peace that CM Punk had with returning to WWE. Just like I said, it may not be in the same capacity as CM Punk where he is there full time, but in any way that AJ would like to come back, I would certainly accept it and welcome her with open arms. I know a lot of us are looking forward to seeing if that actually will come true. Out of the women that I've listed, I think the bigger chance, or the one that I probably would vouch for would probably make a comeback, would probably be AJ Lee. But you see how much peace she has in her life after wrestling, that is kind of hard to say whether, you can really know for sure if she would want to return. So we'll just have to see. So that was my, dream list of who I would like to see come back. and contribute to this current era in wrestling that we see right now with women's wrestling. And I'm hoping that over this next year, maybe I can cross off a few that I listed today. And I'm very curious about what are some women that you guys would like to see make a comeback. Maybe some women that are already currently a part of roster, but you want to see them go to another level in their careers and really see them thrive going into this next year. Let me know. Put those comments out there. I hope that you enjoyed this week's episode. I know that more than likely over the next few days, everyone's going to be talking about what they're expecting for SummerSlam. I definitely think it's safe to say that you might want to put on your list that we might see some comebacks, might see some debuts. But one thing that we can guarantee is that it's going to be a great show. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to the next time that we have Deep Dive. But you can always know that we're going to have some very interesting topics surrounding women's wrestling. So as always, thank you for tuning in, guys. It is always awesome to see your comments, to see that these topics that I'm bringing up are resonating with you. And I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I look forward to seeing you guys soon.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.